It looks like we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna.
And I'm Finger Jocelyn.
Your finger, Jocelyn. That is
Hair clips on my fingers.
quite a nickname. It is a snow day here. Good to see. You're like one of those secretaries who you probably don't remember. You have no reference point for this, but who gets these very long fingernails. These are actually hair clips, and then tries dialing a phone or doing anything in a hurry, scratching an itch, and it's not good, is it? There she goes. Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. A bit of a shake-up this morning, it being a snow day and being a lot of snow here. I think it's still coming down a little bit.
Dog.
Yes, we know. We know. Go ahead.
You
Bring
wanna
bring
see
the
the
animal
dog?
into the frame. Good morning. Let's see who is here. Busy times. I've got the light behind me, which was probably a bad
There
call.
he is.
There he is. There he is. That little button's the dog. Oh, Gayla, good to see you. Let me make
Whoa.
sure. No, let him down. Let him down before he does something. Anita, good to see
Look,
you.
there's a little magnet in between them. I can't tell if you can see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, that is a strong little magnet. Holy mackerel. Here, do something with that. That's going to like bring a
Okay, put back.
ship out of the water into the bedroom. There we go. Good Lord, that's a magnet. Anita, good to see you. It is bitter cold, good hooking weather. I agree. I agree. Thumbs up. Thank you. Yes, please, Mom. Good to see you. Saying hello to the friends this morning. It is a little bit warmer, so that's why I'm wondering why it's so snowy outside. But it's
Take these off.
you can take the of course you can take
Finally.
those off.
I've been wearing them for like 20 minutes. They hurt me. Look.
Don't put them on the computer. She wanted to
look at
show
my
you the.
imprint. There's an imprint.
Oh, honey,
But
you're
don't get
maimed
the
for
clip.
life. Penny, good to see you at warm in Myrtle Beach at 63. That is unseasonable. It is
You
crazy.
have to take these
But freezing
off.
rain tomorrow. I know it's a world of. Please don't make me snap. My trigger is a hair. Just put them right here. Whew, that did it. Every day I wake up. Oh, that's so nice, Mom. Barbara, good to see you. Good morning in Toronto. Beautiful sunny day there. Very cold. Crystal, I guess Vera is off at school. You're probably not having the exact same problem that I'm having at this moment.
Hi.
Good to see you. Are you gonna hit it?
Yeah.
Okay. We are gonna say goodbye to this little one. Yes, she's maimed for life. Off she goes to find more origami to do. All right. Linda, good to see you. Good morning and happy coffee time. You can see I literally just got out of the shower. It's hard when the kids are at home. It's a shake-up because I can't get over to the studio and a lot of things just don't happen. But I wasn't on with you yesterday because it was such a wild day getting ready for that program at the library. There were supposed to be 18 people there. I think there were more than 18, but that is okay. It turned out to be a lovely night. Lots of lovely people showed up. I have more to tell you on that subject. Come on, Buttons. Buttons is going to join us now as the co-host. Krista, Linda, April. Oh, your snow is finally melted. Oh man, it is like we are on a wild ride right now. Cindy, good morning. Good to see you in Minnesota. -10. Okay, I have nothing to complain about. That is extraordinary. That sounds very painful. I hope you're inside, of course. I hope you stay inside. That is terribly cold. Karen, good morning. Good to see you in Black Forest, Colorado. And Linda, I just sent you a message in Massachusetts. Good to see you. Caroline, good to see you. Working on your penny rug and having fun. It is so much fun, isn't it? I mean, I really love doing the pennies. I had to move on from that now because I've been actually working on a different project. I wanted to share that with you too. I've got a bunch of different rug projects for this book that I'm working on. Co-host is here. In a lot of different techniques. And I have to say, the more I get into each different technique, the more I realize how much crossover potential there is. So, for example, I have been doing rug hooking for a while, punching a similar kind of technique. And now that I'm getting into doing more things that I haven't done in some cases since I was like quite young, it's interesting because, like, for example, I woke up at 2:30 in the morning thinking, this would cross with this really well. Why aren't we doing this already? And having all of these fusion thoughts of like, this with this really goes together super well. For example, I went to bed reading the Joel and Kate Kopp book, which we need to look at soon. And lots of historic rugs and important rugs in that book. I hope my lighting is all right. I'm sorry, I'm in a weird corner today in Joss's bedroom in her bunk. But I was looking at the Kopp book, and there was one image that was a braided rug. So it was braided, right? Wool braided, but it wasn't an oval rug or a circle rug. It was a rectangle rug. So it was either a rectangle or a square. It was hard to tell from the photos. It was either this kind of thing, getting larger and larger, squaring out as it goes, or it was just horizontal braids across. But regardless, it was a beautiful old rug, and the colors in the braids had the dye had kicked out at different times in different ways. So the color variation was extraordinary, right? It was black and white photo, but you could tell it was very different and varied. And over the top of this braided rug, somebody had done a ton of applique, like wool applique, felt or solid wool pieces stitched onto the braid. So, this, in terms of use, this could be a bit troubling for the rug itself because, the surface is like corduroy, right, of the braids, and then you're walking over it. It could scuff or wear in a weird way. But at the end of the day, who knows? And who knows where that rug is now? But it gave me the idea, wow, that looked beautiful. Not necessarily for use, but possibly depending on how well you attached your applique parts. I thought, who would ever think of, besides this one person, because even in the book they said this could be a unique example of these two techniques coming together. But who would think of that? Someone who had some braided rug. I mean, I would think it would be much more likely to put some kind of a border on, like a lamb's tongue, or even like a double lamb's tongue border, to meet the same height of the rug. But this person had a different idea, and they went for that wool applique. And I thought that just goes to show. Now at 2:30 in the morning, right, is not the time to be thinking this. So then I had to take 2 of my turkey pills to get back to sleep. But these ideas started going around, and I'm thinking, wow, there is so much to everything, isn't there? It's Pandora's box. You open it, you're thinking about different things you want to do with textiles, different effects you would like, different colors you would like, materials you would like to use up. And all of a sudden, something hits you like that, and it's like, whoa, new chapter, right? Absolutely new chapter. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Donna, hello in rainy Portland. Oh, Jocelyn's getting some hellos. I'll tell her. She's a little bit electric today. We're waiting for word from the neighbor girl from her mom to see if it's possible for these two to get together. Oh my God, please write back. Because it would give her something to do, or even if the neighbor girl, Charlotte, comes over, that would be something to do too. Because we've been doing a lot of origami this morning and a lot with clips. I don't know if you noticed, a lot with clips. It's been a busy morning. Nancy, great to see you in Las Vegas. Oh no, you are there. You are perfect. Cat's Gallery, good morning in Southern California. Great to see you. I feel so messy this morning. I'm so sorry about this. I even have a Christmas pajamas on still. Snow day for me too, right? But I was excited to come on and share some ideas and look at that portrait book again. Carol in Utah, always great to see you. And my buddy Beverly, Cindy, all the buddies are here. Courtney, good to see you. Cynthia canceled school today. Must be the one snowflake. It is always the one snowflake. And the funny thing is, it rained all night like crazy. And because I was up, I kept looking out and thinking, no problem, business as usual. But then I finally fell back to sleep around maybe 4:35. And then I woke up at 8, which is just awful, right? But school had been canceled, and yeah, it was really snowing. And I think the fact that no cars were going by somehow made me realize that it was a snowstorm and nobody was moving. So life is not going on as normal outside the window. It's just funny how your subconscious brain works. You want to shut it off when you're sleeping, but it doesn't always work like that. Jill, good to see you. Cindy, good to see you. And Chrissy, my buddy Chrissy, and Teresa. Denise, good to see you. Dave, you're still digging out. Dave, I can't imagine in Toronto. I can't imagine. My word, it's a lot of snow lately. So, yeah, the class went well last night. It was a lot of different people. Obviously, people I didn't know before. So it's wonderful to make those connections, and it was wonderful to know that I probably had 21, 22 people in the class. And we were all working beginners kits, very beginners stuff, with a hoop and a hook, basic. And then there was a waiting list of like either 13 or 16 more people who would have liked to have come, but because of regulations and the way things are with the masks and distancing, obviously, we were maxed out in a huge way. We were supposed to stop at 15, so it was actually more people, but it was a huge space. And the people who came, I think only one person had ever done rug hooking before. One person thought she had, but she had done latch hooking, and that happens all the time, as you can imagine. My favorite thing about the night, I think, there was a few people who were so keen, right? They were so keen. You could just see it in their eyes. They were, even when I was across the room, because I move when I speak and I try to show different rugs and talk about different things. They had a whiteboard, so that was a good chance to use the whiteboard and do some ideas up there. Um, some people were using cookie cutters in this center to trace around and add to their design. So even as beginners, they were looking to beef out their design and make it even more personalized. Some people put initials or a letter down. One woman did this beautiful thing. She took a heart cookie cutter, which was really obviously basic. She put it in the middle of her square and she did beautiful outline in red, colored it in like a fuchsia, and then did an outline in black around it and said, what do you think I should do next? And then I'm having that conversation in my head with teaching. That's another thing we have to talk about soon because I'm hoping there's a lot of teachers out there. I really want to get going and provide stuff for people who want to teach that's pretty standard and easy and positive for teaching anybody. But I was having that conversation in my head because there were some people last night who were super technical. One woman was the most technical person I've encountered yet. She really wanted a firm answer on very subjective things. Like after I do this, different woman than the heart. After I do this, what do I do next? And I said, why don't you work on the bird next? Because I could tell she wanted a finite answer. And then she would say something like, do you want me to start at the beak? So then, I knew it was the kind of person who, if you say to them, listen, some of us are the jigsaw puzzle makers of the world and start with the border. Some of us outline. Some of us go to our favorite color first and fill that area in. It's up to you. But I knew she was the kind of person that was not going to want that answer. And she needed me to say something really out of character for me, like start with the beak. So it was challenging and interesting to see the way different people were working. And a few of the technical people, I have to say, I'm getting a bit more practical with dealing with it because my son Teddy is on the spectrum and he is very almost robotic sometimes in the way that he works, depending on what he's working on. Sometimes he's a wild firecracker feral animal, but sometimes he's very methodical and he cannot work in other ways. So I try to think about that and try to be helpful in that way. It was extremes last night of very, very technical people and very wild people who were like Dion Fitzpatrick style, just pulling up loops left and right, going at crazy breakneck speed. But this one,
I have a unibrow.
yeah, you have a unibrow. You were using the label maker again. Is that true?
And I made a unibrow.
And you made a unit. Well, you look like Frida Kahlo, your first ever Halloween costume that I made for you. She was Frida Kahlo, and I did that to her. Isn't that awful? And the animals up here too. Wow. See, I would say the bathroom is a quiet place, but even that, it's just like this in there too. So the woman with the heart, he's on the bed. The woman with the heart, she filled it in and she said, what should I do next? And we ended up, which I thought was really smart for Valentine's Day. I said, why don't you exit out into 9 compartments, right? Like a tic-tac-toe board, because she already had the heart in the middle. And that's what she did. And on the edges, she put the X's and the O's, which is like both tic-tac-toe and Valentine's Day. And she was one of these people who she was going great guns. And by the end of the night, she had filled, it was a 2-hour class. It was unbelievable. She had filled in much of her space and she had figured out where she wanted to put colors. So it's just wonderful to see other people working and to give a little bit of a push. Sometimes more of a push, but it was a great experience. But my favorite thing about the night was that there were 2 girls there that were twins, and they were maybe just a little bit older than Joss. And they were so into it. They were so into it. They were, I don't know where they were from, but it was definitely, English was their second language, and their first was not one of the ones that I speak. So I was worrying and wondering if they were getting the most out of it. But I was watching closely and I could see the progression of what they were working on. They were both working on designs with trees, with cookie cutter trees, and they were beautiful and they moved fast. And they were just so excited and into it. So I let them take away a bunch of extra supplies, hoping that because they weren't communicating with me at all, and I didn't know if they were being polite or if there was any kind of a language thing going on, but they were both so sweet, so smart, and so good. And I thought, this is what I live for, isn't it? And it gave me the great idea that I brought up with Jean this morning. What do you think of this idea, right? I'm thinking about young people and bringing young people into the fold, get them going, whether it's hooking, punching, or different forms of rug making. I was thinking on the ride home, what about in the future having a tab on ribbon candy hooking that's Ribbon Candy Kids, where it's just a tab for kids to show their designs, show their work, put up their own patterns, right? We could do something like if enough people download that pattern, I can kick back some money to them or something like that. So they are pattern designers, you know, a little job. I thought there's so many things that we could do with that patterns by kids and patterns for kids, because we could lump in for people that are parents like me. I mean, I'm an older parent, having both of these guys in my 40s, and grandparents, which really I should be at this time. But you know, for people who do designs for kids and kids who design, I thought that could be a whole other thing. Joss could be one of my helpers with that. Maybe you have a young person in your life who hooks or punches or does some kind of rug making that would like to get involved. That could be a really fun project. We could get it going and see how to make it profitable for kids, you know, just as a little side thing. I'm always looking for ways to get my kids off of the computer games and onto hoops and doing projects, you know, that I love too. Easy for me to say after I spent my childhood playing Centipede on Atari, but you know what I mean. Ideally, it's nice to get them away from that and get them doing some more practical work. Uh, Mom, you saw the unibrow. So that was so neat. I'm going to get into the content today too. I have a couple other things I wanted to show you real quick. But lots to think about. Always hit me with ideas. Even though I'm ridiculously, painfully busy right now, I always read the emails and I'll respond as soon as I can. And if I don't, just hit me again, because I read it, I loved it, and I will be back in touch. I love brainstorming with you. You know, one of the other strange things that happened yesterday, or the day before, I was working on a different technique for this book. I'm sorry about this bright light. I wanted to show you the snow, but it's even worse when this blind is up. I was working on a technique called Amish toothbrush, and I wonder if you've heard this. I hate using that name for it because I feel like at a certain point in the 20th century, anything that was done in by hand and in solid colors somehow got the preface Amish, right? And it's not, it's nothing to do with the Amish culture, right? It's a rag that many people have done for many years. So confusion. It's also called the knotted rug or knotted toothbrush. It's got many tags. But I was working on one of those, and it's so easy. I wonder if you've done this before. I took out because this is something I'm going to start talking about, and I was thinking about doing a couple live classes locally here, because for all of you who are recovering, just kidding, who are quilters and have a big stash of fabric as well, you're just ripping up your fabric and literally, this is what I'm working on now, if you haven't seen this yet, literally doing a blanket stitch all the way around your toothbrush, like this, all the way around your rug, right? Just like this. If you see where I'm going with this, and then you pull, and then you go to your next area here. This isn't a demonstration. I'm just showing you how easy this is. You've got this Amish toothbrush tool, and that's what I want to talk to you about, because that's the strange thing that happened. You're just going like this into your thing before it, right, all the way around, and it's just making this is my runner strip, but it's making a beautiful basket stitched edge all around the rug. It's insanely easy, but requires explanation, right? So I had ordered a bunch of these Amish toothbrushes. They have to be hardwood because they will break. They will snap in half, like, you know, if you're pulling on it as much as you are to do this kind of a rug. Very, very, very fun rug, and also possible border if you're using latch as a backing. Obviously not a fabric backing, but a latch backing. This is a great thing to know, the Amish toothbrush. So I was sitting there and thinking about it, and I thought, you probably know this already, but researching Amish toothbrush from a historical viewpoint, I found out the origin of the toothbrush part, right? The Amish part I kind of disregard because, again, I think that's a tag that we add for handmade anything. But I was looking at the toothbrush part. Beverly, I'm sure you have. Beverly's done every kind of rug. And I'm so in awe of how you have branched out in every direction. I love that. I love everything about you, but I love that about you. And I was thinking about the name of this, right? And it turned out that the reason that the Amish toothbrush rug is called the Amish toothbrush is because of the tool. And it's, forget Amish, it's toothbrush, because what people did back in the day, do you remember? I mean, I remember when toothbrushes routinely came with a giant hole in them. Do you remember that? Why would I mean, we never hung our toothbrushes. There was nothing to hang a toothbrush on, but they all came with a hole. And what people did in the early middle 20th century was take their toothbrush, when they were done with it, cut it and file it like this, right? And then this is the tool that comes out of it, and it's called the Amish toothbrush. And what's so cool about that, I was thinking, I just love how these things began, right? And I was thinking, interesting, this is a true story. I swear to you, this is a true story. I was sitting on the couch working on this rug, right, with this tool, and thinking, you know what I need to do for the book and for the blog and for everything that we do? Hello, Anne. Oh, thank you. I'm very drab lighting wise today because I'm in Jocelyn's bedroom next to her bunk bed, tucked in like the family secret, like the Stephen King, whatever, Flowers in the Attic today. I'm just hiding out up here. It's good to see you. Um, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go on eBay and I'm going to search for an old time toothbrush, a vintage toothbrush, right, with the according price tag that has a hole in it. So I can make the point to people, remember these toothbrushes that had this hole, and that's why this form of rug making is called such. And do you know what happened next? I am not kidding. I dropped something on the floor and I bent down to pick it up. And do you know what was on the floor right next to my foot? I am not kidding. This toothbrush with a hole in it. I have no idea where this toothbrush came from. I have never seen this toothbrush. You know, now that I think about it, I bet the dentist gave it to us because it's like a cheap one. But I had not seen it, and I had not seen it on the floor, and I had just swept the floor like at least once earlier in the day, and there it was on the floor. I mean, is that a crazy sign from the universe? And I thought, this is a bit of a small hole, but you could see how one would cut it right here at the neck, and you would just file it a little bit because of course people were so much more handy back in the day, and it becomes this guy, right? Fantastic, isn't that just amazing? Carol says, my mother made these back in the day and used a real toothbrush. See, I'm so late to the party with this. I didn't know that until I started doing crazy research and figuring out why is it called this. And Denise says, looks like it could be a Proddy tool. Denise, you're absolutely right. That is a great point. This could also be a fantastic Proddy tool, right? Because it's got the nice dull tip that will work. So this one's a little bit on the slender side. The only thing I would think about if I were doing a large Proddy rug, it's long. It depends on how you work, as with everything. It always depends on how your tool feels in your hand. If you could use a paper clip, which some people do with Amish toothbrush, bend a paper clip, right, and add a piece of paper to it to make it bigger, or cardboard, then that's your tool. And if it feels good in your hand, that's the one for you. No questions, no judgment. It's the one. But for me, as far as a Proddy tool for this part's good. A little bit on the sharp side, but that part is good. The part that I would worry about is when I do Proddy, or a lot of it, I want to go like this, and I want it to be fairly small, because the distance here is a bit longer. But for somebody who, like, I'm 5 feet, so for somebody that is bigger in stature, that would have bigger hands, or for a man, this would be the perfect Proddy tool and Amish toothbrush tool. Fun. It's just funny, isn't it, to figure these things out? Barbara said we made toothbrushes, were toothbrushes made from wood initially. I don't know the answer to that, but I know the ones that they're referring to were made from like Bakelite or early plastic, right? So no, not necessarily wood. The earliest examples of Amish toothbrushes we're seeing are still like early to mid 20th century plastics, but filed down as a plastic, because this tool would work just as well as a plastic. The one thing that it needs to be is very strong. That's why they're usually offered in a hardwood, right? Because when I'm in a hurry and I'm not feeling a lot of patience, I'm just pulling. You know, with this Amish toothbrush, you constantly need, let me show you one more thing. You constantly need to be adding your strips, right? So you're constantly ripping strips, and then you're playing this game, right, to attach them. So here's the game. You get your I know you know this game too, but you know, I've got the end of my strip and I got a little notch in it that you get by just folding it over, hitting it with the scissors, you notch it, and then you open it up and here comes your next strip. Oh, I haven't put a hole in this one yet, so that's going to be a problem. But you put your next strip through the hole, right? And then in theory, if only I had a pair of scissors here. Oh, let's see if this one has a hole. I would love to show you this if you haven't seen it before. Looks like I did a lot of cuts-ins, but not a lot of holes-ins. Let me see. Oh my gosh, you'll never guess what I found. It's another Amish toothbrush. Just kidding. It's a pair of scissors. Here we go. So this is what I'm doing, right? In case you get into this stuff. I'll make some videos on this. If you see my Santa pajamas, don't look. So I've put it through here like this, right? I've put it through the initial hole, and now I have a hole in this one, and you're just sticking your end through here, right, like this, and you're pulling. And that's going to stay together for all of time, right? That's going to stay together. And when you work with it, it looks like, man, isn't that gonna look bad with that giant knot of two colors merging together? Well, in this rug, no, it's not. The nature of the rug is that it's very highly textured. It's very colorful. It's multicolored and changing. You are never going to see that. And if you do see it, you tuck it a hair and it submits and you never see it again, right? You tuck it behind something. So it just keeps going and going and going. But the thing is, with your Amish toothbrush, you know, when you are threading it, which is quite easy because the hole is quite big, but different toothbrushes come with different sized holes. Now, no seller is going to expect the question, how big is the hole? They just make them the way they make them. They don't cost hardly anything. I have a ton, so I should probably put them up in the store. But you want a big enough hole that you can do this when you make your join and you need to keep going, right? And if you do this enough times, like at least 100 times in one rug, and your toothbrush, your tool is not strong enough, you could see the possibility, particularly if Murphy gets involved with Murphy's Law, if he's watching, the possibility of it breaking would be huge if it wasn't quite strong. But wood or plastic will work. And like some people are saying in this thread, so interesting, knowing people and parents, grandparents maybe, that have made these things out of an actual old toothbrush. I mean, I could well make one out of this. Probably cut my finger off doing it because I'm not as handy as they were back in the day with stuff like tools. I've almost cut my fingers off so many times at this point, I'm a little bit gun shy, but I might give it a shot just to see how it goes. Just thought it was an interesting line of conversation. What we do that connection technique when making twine drugs. Absolutely. That's a really important thing to know, I think, for lots of different kinds of rugs. And when you see, for example, balls, I don't think I brought any up. When you see balls, rag balls, sometimes in antique stores, you know, people don't know what they are. But what they are is a ball of fabric like this that has been joined in that way by just bending it over, folding it over, making a little clip for like a little, almost like you're making a little buttonhole. And then you put the next one through it and connect it to itself, like a paper chain, right? Very, very easy. And I have to admit, I was also really skeptical when I first used that technique for a rug, because I thought, I don't like it when things show. I'm not real persnickety, but I don't like it when ugly stuff shows. And it really doesn't show. It's remarkable how well it works. And you keep your pieces all together in a ball where they're manageable, right? So just super, super neat. Another thing to think about. But yeah, I was thinking about, because I have that class in person teaching beginner rug hooking, the Mandala class. It's mostly a technique class where we're transferring patterns, working on a design together. I'm going to show a lot of techniques in this one beginner's class in Madison, Connecticut this weekend on Saturday. I said Sunday, but it's Saturday because Sunday is our Magdalena class. In the evening, right, I'm doing the reprise of designing like Magdalena, Briner, Eby. And I'll be sending you that paperwork probably tonight for those of you that are in it, so you have time to print it before the class. But Saturday I'm teaching in person, Sunday is Magdalena, and then next Wednesday is the online Zoom Mandala class, and then again next Sunday. So lots coming up, but I'm very heavy into techniques right now. I feel like for some reason at the beginning of the year, let's get our techniques solid, right? Let's get like lots of bridges built so that everything that we talk about or touch on seems both familiar, manageable, even easy, right? The more we talk about these basic things like connecting fabric, it's like, who cares for rug making? Well, maybe you don't care until you sit down to do a hooked rug and you think to yourself, I would like to use a lot of quilt fabric in there. You know, you might want to start connecting pieces. There's so many times when you might, or you might want to crochet a border. I think we might have spam. You might want to crochet a border around a piece, and then you're going to want to connect your strips. So interesting. I had one other thing to show you, but it's getting late. Excuse me, so I'm going to save it till tomorrow. I haven't even eaten or drank anything yet today. I'll give you a little preview though. I got this in the mail. I saw it on eBay, and this I'm such a skunk. As soon as it popped up, I bought it like within 1 minute. Well, I'll share this with you in detail tomorrow. It's this tiny leaflet, right, as big as my hand. It's a little rug hooking catalog from Cape Cod, a company called Oldest House on Cape Cod. Have you heard of this place? Because I haven't. You know that I graduated high school on Cape Cod, and it's my favorite place in the world. Spoiler alert, right? This is where their little business was. So tomorrow, let's look at some of the original designs that this little company sold, and I would like to know more about it because number one, our trip to Clare Murray is coming up, Valentine week, probably right in the middle of the week, and also a man from the Historical Society in Wellfleet on Cape Cod. I've been writing back and forth to him because he told me about this rug hooker from Wellfleet called Florence Rich. Have you heard this name, and do you know this person? She has passed away like a while ago, but she was very, very active, and she did all original patterns. She taught quite a bit on Cape Cod. She did a lot in the 1970s and much earlier with original rug hooking pattern designs of endangered species right at the time. And like, for example, I don't know what all of them are because it's very patchy information that I've gathered so far. I haven't put a lot of time into this, as you can imagine, but you know I will. The blue whale was one of them. And of course, still endangered, but still here too. So 50 years later, still here. So I'm so interested to learn more about her. And David at that historical society is closed for the moment, but he said he will open so that I'm able to go check out everything that's written about Florence, look at the rugs that they have and everything that they have from the family on her life. But if you can give me any supporting information, we can build that up a bit more and find out as much as we can about Florence Rich. That would be amazing. That would be just amazing. Yes, Cat's Gallery. Remember the two women sitting on the couch hooking their rugs from the portrait book? Those were conversation bubbles. That's right. That's right. I never know what those are called. The conversation bubbles, that was our thumbnail for today too. And they were conversation bubbles showing rugs. I guess they were talking about rugs that they'd made because they're all photo transfers of existing rugs. That's a good place. Let's look at this book for a little while. And I'm going to return to this book as soon as I'm finished with this video. I'm recording the giveaway for this book, right? Sponsored by Rug Hooking Magazine. They're giving away 3 copies of this book. And same as this past week, I'll do the giveaway Monday morning. So I will make the video posted in this video, in the body of it. As soon as I'm done, I need to record it still. If you comment on that video, that is as good as entering, right? If you comment, like, subscribe if you haven't, but definitely a comment is how I assign a number to you, and then I will draw 3 winners live next Monday. So be looking for that video. If you don't have this amazing book by Anne-Marie Littenberg, Hooked Rug Portraits, there will be 3 winners. So let's look at this a little bit, and then I want this to be the subject of our cocktail time tomorrow night. So we're going to be looking at it again tomorrow night. But we left off yesterday with that beautiful portrait of the 2 women. And right before then, we looked at another beautiful portrait by Rochelle LeBlanc. And do you know, she called yesterday afternoon. And I hadn't spoken to her before. We hadn't met. And she called to say thank you for, you know, saying lovely things about her rugs, which are beyond lovely. So it's the least I can do. But we ended up chatting for ages. What a nice person. And she told me about an online class that she has coming up, starting in, it's a 2-part, March and September. And unfortunately, that information, very detailed, that she gave me to share with you about that class that will be starting in March, is on my desk, and the snow is between us. So I will give you that information at cocktail time tomorrow, because she gave me lots of details about the way that class will run, and it sounds like it's going to be a wonderful online Zoom class. You know that Rochelle is so well known in many communities, not just the rug hooking community, but the gallery circles. really fine rug hooking artist, very well known for her portraiture. So the fact that she's in this book quite a few times is expected, and she must be in this book. I would be shocked if she weren't. So it was very nice. What a nice person. What a nice person. So moving on, who's the author of The Oldest House? Oh, Cindy, don't get me going. Who is the author? Let us see. I don't know that it is that kind of thing. It's like a little brochure that opens like this, right? And inside, miniature folder, inside is this little guy. And it's not really a book. It's a bunch of pieces of paper that detach. Um, oh boy. Oh, Elizabeth Waugh. I know that her name has come up because somebody once said Evelyn Waugh, and I got confused with Brideshead Revisited. Um, I'll just do a little spoiler here. Hooked rugs are still being made in the old-fashioned way in the furthermost village on Cape Cod, picturesque province town. You know, it doesn't say. There's no names at all associated with it. It's just going to be a series of designs. I'll have another look, but it's not at the beginning, and it's not no names in the introduction. They're giving us a history of Cape Cod and the pilgrims arriving, and then they're going immediately into the most exquisite, exquisite designs. I have never seen any of these designs. You know, we'll look at oh my. Let's look at it tomorrow. This is too much. It's too much. You're just not going to believe these designs. I'll do a little more digging and I'll check the eBay listing where I bought it, but I don't think that they knew a thing about it. Other than this is maybe some of the best designs I've ever seen in my life. We will look forward to this tomorrow. That's how we'll start our episode, and then we will finish up with the Hooked Rug portrait book. But yeah, absolutely no names associated with this. Isn't that crazy? Just the oldest house. And you know, it's funny. I'm going to have to research this in general because they're showing, little clue, outside the oldest house, there's like a whalebone arch. If I can come into focus, it's a bit of a Suedette book, right? It's got a bit of a nap to it. Little whalebone arch. You know, and I think I know the oldest house. I think that's still, a little museum. I will research it and see what I can find out. And if anybody knows anything else, please let me know. Gayla said, I also attach my cotton material like that when I locker hook. Absolutely. Isn't that a fun one too, locker hooking? I'm working on that right now, actually. That's a fun one too. So many different varieties, right? Locker hooking is almost just like rug hooking, but using latch backing. And you're running a piece of twine under your loops that you've already made to keep them above the surface, locked in place. And as a result, they have a more structured, rigid look, a bit of a more pixelated look because the latch hook backing gauge is so big compared to rug hooking backings, fabric backings. So interesting, but locker hooking is really, really fun too. And actually this morning I was writing back and forth with a woman on Etsy who has a very, very heavy story. She's doing some charity locker rug projects in honor of her daughter who passed away. She died of cancer and had gone to St. Jude's Hospital as a child, came out cancer free, and then died as a very young woman in her early 30s. And she started a project doing a series of locker hooked rugs that she gives a third of the profit to St. Jude's. And I want to work with her. We've already started going back and forth talking to see. I know a lot of people in our group are looking, they're done making rugs. You're done making rugs for the floor, for the walls, for everything. And you're looking for projects like prayer shawls and things that you can do to give, to help, charitable sort of humanitarian work. This is going to be a great project. And she is specifically a locker hooker. So I'm going to try to work with her in the next week or so and create something sort of semi-official where you could get in touch with her. And I'll put together like an online thing for free showing locker hooking. So if you've never done it and you want to get into it, you could start doing even small pieces that she's able to then sell and give the proceeds to St. Jude's Hospital. So that could be something we talk about in the future. Locker hooking is so much fun, and what a great way to get into it, right? Doing something so kind and helpful like that. Chapter 2 in our portrait book is about studying faces. And this is an important subject. This is something that Rochelle brought up when we were chatting yesterday, talking about how important it is to be thoughtful about not only body proportion, but what's going on in a face, right? This is her forte. So this is something that she's very, very good at, just like Anne Marie Littenberg, who wrote this book. So this second chapter is about looking at a face and pulling the elements out of it that you think are the most important in terms of expression, right? So not just rendering, not just getting the face, drawing it on the canvas and doing it okay, right? For me, it would be just okay, nothing more. It's more than that in this chapter. It's telling you how to pull expression out. So, for example, this first piece is called Dreaming of Blue Skies. It's number 6 to number 8 cut, designed and hooked by Diane Phillips of Fairport, New York. Let me show you the piece first. And you can see there, and again, we are using highlights and colors in the face to pop it that are not the natural skin tones, but they are a palette of blues, right, of sort of blues and periwinkles that work because the right tones are in place. When the right colors are not in place, but the right tones are in place, you still have absolute success. Very pop art kind of handling, absolutely beautiful piece, but the softness and the dreaminess of it, right? Dreaming of blue skies. The dreamy factor is in the face. And what Diane says of this piece, Diane includes garments in her portraits as a way to balance color. That's interesting. She says, I usually don't have much garment showing, putting more emphasis and color in the hair and face. Sometimes you cannot see any garments. Here, in addition to framing the face, the garment adds to the unspoken story. Absolutely, right? It's like a bit of a, not, I don't want to say costume, but it's a specific garment, right? With a lot of kind of multi-pattern tweed around the top that evokes that sort of decorative embroidery on like a shawl, right? So really, really pretty, bringing out something about the expression that is the story, right? Because these are portraits that, these are not portraits of people on the porch or in front of a house. These are portraits. So these portraits are going an extra mile, many miles, to show you something in the face that adds to the character of the piece. And I think you're going to know which character this is. Right, so this is a Van Gogh. Obviously, this is him. And we've talked about Van Gogh so much, we'll never stop because there's so much to say about Van Gogh. I love this piece because it's not really in Van Gogh colors. You can't not put the red hair in, right? His colors really are blue, yellow, and orange. The yellow is a little bit present in the face, and the blue in the back is more of an indigo heading toward purple. But this red, right, of his hair is a must. That is Van Gogh. I like how in this portrait that you're not getting the blues and the yellows as much as you're getting the oranges and the greens, right? So it's a bit of a departure from the Van Gogh palette. Why not? And the introduction of this color that's more of a chartreuse green, right? It's almost a sickly green. And I personally associate that color with not being well, like having a bad pallor to your face, right? Sort of illness, but also chartreuse itself, which among this group of people was a very, very popular drink and a very, very dangerous drink that led to a lot of hallucination. He wasn't excessive with it, right? He wasn't excessive. He didn't have tons of funds, and he was quite religious. He wasn't crazy into it as some of his contemporaries were. But I like the introduction of that color because I feel it really adds for me to the mood. Now that's my transposing my thoughts and associations onto this piece. What the artist actually says is this. This is by Gloria Reynolds Stokes of Heinsberg, Vermont. This image of Van Gogh fills the frame. It is an extreme close-up, so parts of his head are not in view. This perspective adds intensity to the piece. Filling the frame is a popular portrait technique in photography, and it adapts equally well to raw cooking. What a great point that is. As soon as you start cropping, right, the rest of the body, the shoulders, like the picture we looked at before, she had cropped part of the garment out, right, only showing a little. This is showing none. It's just showing the face like you're almost trying to capture his thoughts in that moment, right? And that would be hard to do with Van Gogh. Hello, Marie. Good to see you. Oh, yep, Mom, tomorrow is Friday, so cocktail time, yes. Tomorrow is cocktail time Friday, 7 p.m. Yep, absolutely. So just interesting, right? Another thing, I just noticed something else about this portrait that I think is really cool. And again, I'm sorry, I'm in Jocelyn's bedroom if you're just logging on, so my light is not great. But around the edges with this darker green, right, more like a grassy green or an evergreen, it's three rows around three sides. But on this side, it's only 2 rows. And it does kind of open up the side of his face, right? It makes this side a bit more accessible because the border is thinner. You get more of the blue, more of this sort of contrast. I mean, that is interesting. It's just one little change, but it changes the composition completely. Interesting. And the lips are quite green too. You know, what I really love about this book, just like Anne Marie's landscape book, is she really brings it, I don't want to say into a modern light, but she's showing you so many different kinds of ways of handling color in portraiture, when portraiture for so many centuries has been very literal, right? Very literal. So it's just interesting. As soon as someone starts showing you portraits done in this manner with alternate color palettes, and not as realistic as they are sort of artful and bohemian feeling, it gives you carte blanche. It gives you carte blanche to be able to do this too. As soon as somebody shows you and says, or this, that gives you the green card to start working in that style too, right? Now we know it exists. You go and do it. You go and do it too. Why not? So she shows us lots of things like this. This is Noah. What a beautiful piece this is. Number 6 to number 8. Again, Diane Phillips Fairport of New York, 2004. Do a bit better than that. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that gorgeous? I like the color changer on the border too. There's so much going on here. You know, I saw in our Facebook group, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, a few people were posting slightly different, kind of the same theme. Am I using too many colors in the background? Am I using too many colors in this part? That question comes up a lot. And I would have to say, for me, it's usually a no, because if you look at the amount of color in Noah's hair and face, it might seem, if you were to lay all those colors out on a table, it might seem like, did I do that? Like just too many, right? Too much and too many. But it's not. You have to give yourself that hot minute, because once they get into place, the tones are the same, right? The tones are the same with very few exceptions. There's a lighter white, right, or a light gray, and there are some darker darks. But other than that, there's a lot of colors, but they're that middle tonal value. And because of that, you can use them interchangeably. You're going to end up with a lot more color, but it's not going to be a pig's breakfast, because technically it works. Your tones are the same. That's when those paint cards are so handy. And this is a great, oh, so of that it says, I hooked Noah while on vacation. I had only a limited amount of wool and had to use just what I had on hand. That's always a good exercise, isn't it? Blue wool used under his eye appears in his hair, beard, and hand. And yet you have no trouble distinguishing the features. Absolutely you don't. According to Diane, the old saying that color gets all the credit, but value does all the work is true. That is fantastic. Let's look at that again. Diane says, the old saying that color gets all the credit, but value does all the work. I could not have said that any better myself. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at, right? When you look at those swatch cards, you look at what the most intense value is, the brightest but most intense, and then the middle values going down to the weakest or lightest value, all of the same color. You know, if you hit the second one up on 3 different paint cards, those 3 colors will be interchangeable, right? Because that's where they are in terms of levels of value. She's absolutely right. Color is in a way overrated. It is the value that matters. And just to be sure, having the hand outlined the way that it is, that beautiful curl of the pinky, that is definitely helping too. And it's creating the connection between the hand and the face, this sort of restive, pensive, thoughtful moment, really adding a lot. So that whole composition is amazing. Let's look at one more. Those eyes on the portraits are full of expression. They are. That's so hard. This is something I do not do well. That's why one of the reasons it was such a joy to talk to Rochelle yesterday. because we talked about ourselves and each other and asked questions, and it was a great back and forth conversation. I love speaking to people who feel the same way, who are nice, who are forthcoming, who have 100 ways of doing something and not just the one. Right? Those are the people who I connect best with, who are working in the same field as I am. And she is certainly one of those people. And we had so many thoughts and ideas for each other on things that work. But one thing that was for sure was that in terms of doing portraits and people, it's her. It's not me. It's her. She is so good at that. That's why I'm really anxious to give you the information on her class tomorrow when we get to cocktail time at night. Let's look at one more of these together. Please repeat that expression. Absolutely, Marie. The old saying is that color gets all of the credit, but value does all of the work, right? So people think, and I hate to keep saying Pearl McGowan School, but the part of being certified as a Pearl McGowan teacher was having this very vast and in-depth understanding of shading. But typically when we're looking at that type of shading, we're talking about light to dark, right? What we see more and find more in books like this and in contemporary rug hooking, particularly portraits, is that you are able to not just look at a color in terms of dark to light, but you, instead of looking at the color, you're looking at the value, right? And you're just making that substitution. And I know color wheel only goes so far with this, right? Color wheel only goes so far. Not very helpful with this particular conversation. But if I know that there are books, because I have one, it's in Dutch, so it's not really going to help to put a link for it, and it'll be a lot of shipping. But I know there must be books in English. If you know one, make a note or put in our Facebook group, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. Put a link if you know a book that's very good just on color, showing you just what the paint store has, just what Benjamin Moore has. Tons of those swatches, chapter of blue, chapter of purple, right? I have a book just like this, and it just goes page after page of value. And you can kind of move the pages over and look at a pink chart right next to like an orange chart, and look and see just where those values land, and say, if I want to substitute what I'm doing here, and I want both oranges and pinks, I need to be right in that sort of bracket. I need to be pretty close to these two exact colors. Because you can either go to the paint store with an empty bag and do 5-finger discount and just empty out. I'm not advocating for that. You can take lots and lots of those samples if your paint store doesn't mind. Or you can try to find a book that gives you the same information in a way that it's more maybe concise anyway. But having those swatches is invaluable, right? And if you are interested in doing this kind of color substitution as a way of experimenting with shading, as opposed to light versus dark as a way of shading, then you really need to be looking at swatches. Even if you are a pro, you still need to be looking at swatches, because with how many colors are there, right? It's infinite. And even going from one color to the next, you change the value a hair, and it has a little more indigo than it has Wedgwood, and you have got a completely different color. So it really is really valuable as a reference to be able to look at swatch cards and charts with colors to be able to do this. And when you're hooking a piece that has this kind of color substitution, right? Or earlier in the book, we saw some others that, like remember, what was his name? Little Old Pimento. Remember Little Old Pimento? This kind of color substitution, there is going to, for certain, be a moment where, that better be UPS ringing the doorbell. There is going to be a moment where you say to yourself, this isn't working. His face isn't green, and his face certainly isn't green and purple. There is going to be that moment, without a doubt. But again, give yourself the hot minute and sit back, sit with it, wait, fill in a little bit more, and look, and you will see, step back, you will see that it is working, because it must work. It's a technical guarantee that it does work. So it's just a question of what colors do you want to get involved with, and how do you want to start experimenting with this? Please, okay. Sure, it is a lovely tip, and it comes from Diane Phillips of Fairport, New York, not from me. She is the wizard who has this old adage, and I've never heard it before, but it is gold. It is gold. Let's look at one more of these great portraits, because this whole chapter is filled with Actually, let's look at this one. We'll look at two. So this one for expression I want to show because we started off talking about facial expression. I think Jocelyn's friend is here. Please be Jocelyn's friend. This is called Suspicion. And you can see this so reminds me of Agatha Christie, my favorite author. Right. Somebody in the drawing room, somebody just got stabbed, and everybody in the whole family, most of them are going by the wrong name, are standing around, and somebody looks just like this, right? Suspicion. So using expression is a big part of this chapter, but continuing our conversation about color, very recognizable face, color substitutions going on like crazy here. Now, you can go a little bit with color substitutions, or you can go, help close us out, Ted, very far with color substitutions. Sit down. I'm not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, no, come and sit. We want to say goodbye with you.
Okay.
So this is a lot, right? It's almost like using blocks of color under the eye.
Barack Obama.
That's right. Get out of the screen. And in the forehead, and then all this vertical hooking, again, some color substitutions. It's more in this one, but you can see how successful it was too. Right? Fantastic. Well, it looks like things are coming to a head in this bedroom. Every member of the family, including the dog, Jam Sandwich, is in this bedroom.
Even Pitter Pat.
Oh, even Pitter Pat the cat. The entire family. If the hamsters were still alive, they would have escaped from the cage, and they would also be in this chapter. She's wearing her Jam Sandwich t-shirt. Ted, you want to say goodbye?
Jam Sandwich. Do you remember Jam Sandwich?
We all remember Jam
He
Sandwich.
was born a little while ago.
Okay. All right. You going over to Charlotte's house?
Oh, well, no, we're going to play in the snow.
You're going to go play in the snow. Excellent. So, I hope that was helpful. Tell Teddy to come up and say, don't. No, thank you. Come here, Ted. You want to say goodbye? Nobody ever sees you on coffee time anymore. He a big man and he's got busy schedule.
I'm not a big man.
Are you a little man?
I'm a shrimp.
You're not a shrimp. You're not. There's the Teddy. There's the Teddy. So I think we had a good episode. Lots of nice tips. Okay, no weirdness. No weirdness. Ham bone. He's my ham bone. So, snow day all around. I hope you got him. Gami says hi. Say hi to Gami.
I can.
All right. So, I will be back with you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will be... Stop it. Stop it. It will be... I'm sorry. It'll be cocktail time tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Is there an author of the book, The Old... Nope. I think that was an... No, Cindy, there isn't an author at all. Not at all. Not a name, not a company, nothing. Not even a year. Okay, Teddy, are you okay? Okay, if this is a get well soon, I'm going to send him a get well soon card. Off he goes. Don't trip on the wire. I will see you tomorrow for cocktail time at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will start the episode looking at the oldest house, Cape Cod Rug Hooking Company. I will find out as much as I can with a limited time. If you find out anything, please send it to me, and we will share our knowledge. I'm going to show you every design in this little book to start our episode tomorrow night. And we will conclude looking at this amazing book, our giveaway book for this week, Hooked Rug Portraits. Give me 5 minutes, and I will post the video, link here, also on the YouTube Ribbon Candy Hooking channel, also in our Facebook group, Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, so that you can click the link, comment on the video, comment where you're from, something about you. I want to know where you're all from so we can figure out if we can get together and who's close to whom and all of that stuff. So look for that link. If you don't have this book, enter. 3 winners is a lot. You have a very good chance. Better chance of winning this book than winning the lottery, right? So might as well enter. So I will see you tomorrow night for cocktail time at 7 p.m. And until then, you can find me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com and look out for this link. Enter and win. Sponsored by Rug Cooking Magazine, of course. I will see you tomorrow night. Have a great afternoon.